So we're going to be looking at some of the bigger calculations that are necessary with some of these forms, like the standard form, in order to find some of the missing pieces of information. So our notes will be focused on these bigger calculations, but before we get started on that, I want you to take a second and pause the video, and you should be able to fill out all of this look and know and small calculations. And hopefully at this point, you can do it by memory. So stop the video and see if you can't fill out this portion of this page of notes based on what we've already done. If you can't fill it out, pull out the previous page of notes that we took on the look and know information of the 3 forms and use that as a guide. But again, you should try really hard to do it by memory. If you don't have this stuff memorized, then you are making your work a little bit harder on yourself, and you also stand a chance of not being very successful on our next test. So you really need to be sure that you have these look and know information memorized and the small calculation formulas memorized. So pause and try to get that filled in. Okay, so I've got mine filled in. I may have added a few things to hopefully clarify some stuff. Like I noticed that some of you are struggling with the notation A is greater than 0. That's just another way of saying you have a positive A. And by the way, you notice that each one of these forms has an A value. A right there, A right there, A right there. So that's why you can, it doesn't matter what form, you should be able to look at the form and tell me how the sign of A. If you know the sign of A, then you're going to know whether it's opening up or opening down. And then if you know that, then you can describe the end behavior. And this end behavior that I have right here, on the left it's going up and on the right it's going up. That's describing those that are opening up. This end behavior right here is describing the ones that are opening down. On the left it's going down and on the right it's going down. The domain is always going to be all real numbers for parabolas that open up and down. So this should be pretty easy. Y-intercept is just this C value right here. So whatever that number is right there, that's going to be where it crosses the y-axis. Your axis of symmetry is found by finding negative b over 2a. So you take the number in front of the x, change its sign, and then divide it by 2 times the number in front of the a. That's what negative b over 2a means. You find the vertex by plugging the axis of symmetry number is the x value. The y value, you plug and chug that x value. You can do that on both the calculator and on Desmos. Plug and chug. The range is going to be the y value of the vertex. If it opens up, it's going to start at the y value of the vertex and it's going to stop at infinity. If it opens down, it's going to start at negative infinity and it's going to stop at the y value of the vertex. So the y value of the vertex is always going to tell you what the range is. Your intervals of increase and decrease, you can write it this way always, as long as you determine whether it's decreasing and then increasing, or if it's increasing and then decreasing. So I've given you a little hint right there. So when it's opening up, that first interval is decreasing, and then on the right side it's increasing. So this is describing the decrease and then the increase. If it's opening down, then the interval on the left is going to be increasing and the interval on the right is going to be decreasing. So this would describe the increase than the decrease. So it's always the same, and it's again the x value of the vertex. The x value of the vertex is what goes here and here. It's always going to start at negative infinity and end at positive infinity. And there's always going to be parentheses. You just have to be able to tell if it's opening up, whether the intervals are decrease and increase, or if it's opening down, it's going to be increase and decrease. Vertex form, we've got the H is going to be your axis of symmetry. The vertex is going to be HK. The same thing is true here for the range. It's going to be the y value of the vertex. It's either going to start and go to infinity, or it's going to start at negative infinity, stop at k, depending on whether it opens up or down. And then the same is true for the intervals of increase and decrease or decrease and increase. This is the interval, and depending on whether the thing opens up or down, will be whether this one is increasing or decreasing. The y-intercept here is going to be found by plugging in 0 for x, because that's how a y-intercept is defined. It's going to be plugging in 0 for x. And then your factored form, your look and know information are your roots or your x-intercepts or your solutions or your zeros. It's just going to be the opposite of these two numbers right here, so p and q. Your axis of symmetry is going to be the average of p and q. Your axis of symmetry is going to be your x value of your vertex, and to find the y value, you're going to plug and chug. Plug and chug that p plus q divided by 2. Your y-intercept is plug in 0 for y, plug and chug it. So this was all review. You should be getting really comfortable with this information. The bigger calculations that we're going to do today, we're going to concentrate on finding x-intercepts. I've also put the word solution, roots, and zeros here. We're going to focus today on x-intercepts. When your parabola crosses your x-axis, your x-intercepts, your solutions, your roots, and your zeros are all the same thing. If your parabola does not cross the x-axis, and we'll do that on a different day, if your parabola does not cross the x-axis, then you don't have any x-intercepts. You don't have any x-intercepts. You'll just have solutions, roots, and zeros. But for today, to find the x-intercepts, all of our problems we're going to do the same thing. We are going to solve by factoring. Now we've already practiced factoring. Today we're going to do it one step further, and we're going to solve by factoring. We are going to learn some other methods of solving. So we're going to come back to this page and fill it in greater detail later. We're also going to learn how to change to different forms. But for today, we're going to practice primarily on the standard form and finding the x-intercepts, and we're going to do that by solve by factoring.